I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, March the 24th, brought to you in part by the Cattle Vac Box. Tell you what, you talk about a handy deal that's got a place for your pistol grip syringes right there. It's got storage there for all your supplies that you need. It's a heavy duty deal, and it'll keep everything organized just like you want it. And where have these deals been for the last 50 years? But they can personalize those. If you order one, you see how we got a feeder flash one right there, and before we let it get all smelling like medicine, we're probably going to see if we can see how cold it keeps some bluegills or silver bullets. But a quick recovery, hopefully. We'd like to see a quick recovery for all these people that are suffering from the coronavirus, and a quick recovery for our economy and everything that it's caused here in the United States and all over the globe. But this cattle market is coming back, and I mean in a quick way. It got way overdone there. We had some price gouging from your packers. We've kind of gotten that straightened out. Not that they're going to give what the cattle are actually worth, but they're going to give a lot more than what they've been given for them. We saw your feeder cattle just fall completely out of bed. Now they're raging back here with green grass fever to help in that. But we've seen a lot of things happen here in the last week or two here, and I don't think that we've seen the worst of this coronavirus deal yet. But we are seeing more reports of people that actually had it and lived through it to tell about it, and I think we need to see that. And maybe in all likelihood, maybe this country here, we won't get every single person tested. We won't know exactly how many people had it, but maybe we can find some medicines that we can treat those that do get it, where more and more of them and a higher percentage survive. And that's kind of what we've always done with the influenza and all these other diseases that we've fought off. We've figured out how to treat it and keep as many of those people alive as we can. President Trump said, you know, this country wasn't built to stay shut down. And that's true. I think the rest of you, you get to thinking, boy, I'd like to go eat supper with so-and-so, with these people, or I want to meet this guy or take him out for a steak. We can't even do that. And I know if you guys are like me, you forget that. You think, oh, well, I think I'll go over here and eat at my favorite restaurant. We can't even do that. You know, I got a concert I'm looking forward to coming up around the corner. Not going to be able to do that. You know, wanting to spend some time with the family, take them on a little vacation later this spring or early in the summer. We don't know if we're going to be able to do that or not, but we've got to try to look at the positives in this thing and try to get over it as quick as we can. And I'm not sure what it takes to do that, and I'm sure not an authority on the subject, but it'd sure be nice if we could start seeing some more positive come out of it. But what are the things we're looking at? The Congress failed to pass a response, a legislative response to get funding out to help a lot of these people that are the worst affected by this COVID-19. But included in that bill is amendment in there to try to increase funding into the Commodity Credit Corporation, so that after we get this bill passed here, and hopefully it'll get done on Tuesday. I can't believe they didn't get it done Monday night, but the Democrats keep trying to force stuff in there. Everything from abortion to the Green New Deal to all these things, they keep trying to sneak in there because they know that we need to get it passed, and then they're just not going to let them do that. But surely Tuesday sometime we'll get this deal done where we can get some funding out there and help a lot of these small businesses and different people that's been overly affected by this. Your waitresses, you know, bartenders, people like that that's been shut out the worst, completely shut off. But that should get done. And if we get some more money into that Commodity Credit Corporation, then USDA can decide then how we're going to help a lot of these cattle producers that have been affected. It's not so much your farmers this time, because it happened during a time where it didn't bother them that much, but cattle producers have really taken it in the shorts on this deal. A lot of continued talk this week about Tyson giving a $5 bump live and $7.94 bump dressed basis on the purchases that they had that are scheduled for slaughter this week. And you know, people are kind of raising an eyebrow to that as much as they like it. And you know, I said on our last visit, you hate to look a gift horse in the mouth, but it's a little embarrassing, frankly. It's embarrassing, and if it's not embarrassing, it should be. That should challenge your manhood just a little bit, guys. You made the best possible deal that you thought you could make. Or did you? Maybe you were just a price taker, and that seems like what the cattle feeders have kind of gotten to be. I know 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I worked with the USDA Market News in the Amarillo, Texas office, you had some pretty gritty guys in there, and I tell you what, they would stick their heels in the dirt like a bulldogger and would not give in, fight tooth and nail for every buck when they were trading those negotiated cash fat cattle. Anymore, it seems like a lot of guys are just too lazy to do it. They wait for somebody else to establish a price, and then they just take it. And then they hope for a basis because they're keeping everything hedged up, and they just don't worry too much about that. But by gosh, they worry about every tenth of a pound those cattle are gaining while they're in the feedlot. They go over that. They're like a bunch of cow-calf producers worry so much about the production end of it and not near enough about the marketing end of it. And that's a shame. But you know, you made the best deal you could possibly make. Let's say you thought you did, or you pretended that you did, and then a day later they said, throw on an extra $5. You know, that's a little bit hard to take there, guys. It just makes you wonder how much they could give you. You know, just last week on the box beef cutout values alone, your packers gained an extra, not a $400 profit, an extra $400 on top of the profits they were already making, and then they throw you 60 or 70 bucks a head, and you're supposed to just grin and take it and not wonder what the heck you were missing out on. But tell you what, Tyson was the only one that really stepped up to do that. We figured that everybody else would follow suit. We did see a little bit more. National threw on about $3, saying that they were going to base everything at 113. So that's something. Iowa Premium Tama plant there, one of your smaller regional plants, say that they're going to boost everything an extra $4. Didn't hear much more out of anybody else. Cargill, we heard some rumors about them going to give their workers bonuses if they continue to show up through this crisis and can continue to keep the chains moving there, which is a good thing for those workers, and they sure deserve it. I tell you what, they're heroes for showing up every day and working and keeping this meat flowing through the system. But it's funny we didn't hear anything out of JBS. Or maybe it's not so funny that we didn't hear anything out of JBS. But what else is going on? Our March feeder cattle contract, heard this kind of late in the day on Monday. March feeder cattle contracts on the CME board, they're going to raise the limits just this week to try to get those things caught back up. Now, is that really what everybody signed on for? Is for them to oversell the thing, take it way down there, just tens of dollars down below where it ought to be, and then just raise the limits to take it back up? Shouldn't it have to go by the same rules to go back up? Well, yeah, but it's cash settlement. Haven't I been warning you guys for the last week or 10 days that they was going to have to meet up with your CME cash feeder cattle index at maturation there? You know, they just changed the rules midstream, and I'm not sure if that's really the most healthy way to do it. And then you look at your CME cash feeder cattle index, which is suspect anyway. And normally your real-time index that we put together here with DV Auction is a precursor to it because we report it in real time, same information, same parameters and everything. And your real-time index is sitting at 122.67 here late in the day on Monday. But you look at your latest CME cash feeder cattle index, which was running right even, 121, 122, 123, right in even there with your real-time index. And all of a sudden you look up and Friday's quote was 116.15. What? What happened? Oh, they dumped a bunch of dirt cheap directs in there and sucked their way back. But the heck of it is, once you get the auction prices in there that happened on Monday and we start seeing increased receipts on those because people are kind of backed up, that thing's going to be running away from the board faster than they can catch up to it. And you think, well, where'd they get all these cheap directs to pump in there? Look at your Texas Direct feeder cattle report for Friday. They dumped about 1,600 head of indexed steers, feeder cattle, in that CME cash feeder cattle index from 102 to 106. Who the hell is selling 800-pound good steers, feeder steers, from 102 to 106? Why wouldn't you feed them? Why wouldn't you turn them out in a bar ditch? Why wouldn't you shoot them in the head? Why wouldn't you flag a car down and sell them to somebody instead of puking them from 102 to 106? We saw any kind of a sale barn and they weren't getting 1,000 head. They might be getting 300 or 400 head. We saw any of your sale barns, even in the southeast, selling those index weight steers, like your 8-weight steers, selling them from 112, 115, 120 something. And to find that many of them, did anybody look at those cattle? About half of them were quoted as #1 cattle. So they'd be as good as the ones that come out of maybe Bassett, Nebraska. That's all we can call them as #1 cattle. That is embarrassing right there. There's so many things, little tweaky things that are wrong with this marketing structure, and that is one of the big ones right there. And that is kind of disgusting to me. But let's look at DV Auction's production sale report. And last weekend was our biggest weekend that we had for our bull sales and the like. And to have this coronavirus come in and spoil so many of them, kind of a disgusting deal. But you look at our production sale report on DV Auction for last week, the whole week, they had 7,100 online bids in your production cattle sales. Those bids accounted for $27.4 million. They ended up selling almost 1,200 lots on our production sales last week, with a total sales volume of $4.8 million of purchases. So you think people aren't buying their replacement stock online there with DV Auction, and a lot of those are followed. The people go shopping, looking at the videos. We've got 94 video catalogs on DV Auction here as of up to date. 5,500 lots of those video catalogs, 38,800 views of the video catalog, and of that video plays of these mostly bulls, but there'd be some replacement females in there too. 351,500 video plays of these production sale stock right there. And I think that's a pretty impressive production sale report from last week. Let's look at the board for Monday here. April live cattle futures up the $3 limit at 101.65. June up the $3 limit at 92.52. These things are going to take a long time to get up there, but luckily they're on the April contract, so they don't have to worry about those maturing anytime soon. We're selling slaughter bulls for $1.15 to $1.20, and our spot April live cattle contract is 101.65, and June's at 92.5. Whoa. March feeder cattle, this is the one they're talking about expanding the limits. You think, well, 4.5 is bad enough. $6.75 will take a guy's head off. Now we're going to go to $10. Wow. But March feeder cattle up $4.50 limit at 125.22. April up 4.5 at 123.32. Fat cattle, we didn't have as much trade this Monday as we did a week ago Monday when we had so many of those basis jumpers. We just saw a few trade in the northern feedlot area, a few of them at 115 live and 185 on a dress basis, which would be quite a bit higher than what we saw. Not much higher than what we saw if you're looking at Tyson's bump, but still pretty good price on those to start out the week, and didn't establish the market by any means. I think as the board continues to increase and more confidence comes in your cattle market, we should be able to get those higher. And like I said, you know, quoted a $1.19 bull standing in the ring in Kentucky on Saturday. You'd think a guy could get $1.20 something for his choice fat cattle, which as easy as they grade nowadays, they get some primes on most loads. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated 5-area cash feedlot movement on 131,300 head. Didn't think you could sell that many anymore, did you? But that's going to be, you know, about 25%, and what we'd like to see is 30% mandated every week to kind of hold this competition level together. But 131,300 head for this past week. That compared to 107,900 head the previous week and 73,800 the same week a year ago. Look at your prices through the week last week on negotiated cash from 103 all the way to 113, mostly 110, and your weighted average on live steers was 109.89. That was up $1.05 compared to the previous week. Your dress sales of steers and heifers last week from 168 to 180, mostly 170 to 175, and your weighted average on dress steers was 173.13, actually down 92 cents. But you look nationwide on negotiated sales, 152,900 head. That'd be the biggest we'd had for a long, long time. And about 38% of those 15 to 30 day delivery. And I sometimes say that 15 to 30 day delivery, depending on how much volume we see at that, is your packers trying to set things up. This time I actually think your packers believe that it's going to get quite a bit higher, and they were trying to get as many cattle bought to try to smooth out the ramp up in prices as we move on further down the spring. Yes, we know we got a lot of market ready cattle coming, but they're not really going to be here be ready until the summer. Let's talk about your cash feeder cattle market. So we talked about your real-time index earlier, 122.67 late in the day on Monday, up $1.14 from the end of last week, and that's through DV Auctions automated market reporting service there. Your steer tracker, which is the last 25 lots of index weight steers, was at 126.90. So that tells you that later in the day on Monday on those same type of cattle it was higher, and we're expecting that RTI to continue higher as we work through the week. And then there's that disgusting CME cash feeder cattle index quote of 116.15. You know, those cheap directs shouldn't make that much difference, but it's just that our receipts, we had the largest non-holiday or the lightest non-holiday receipts, feeder cattle receipts, since we began keeping those records that way, like almost 20 years ago. And that's how come those cheap directs made that much difference in there, and it just really messes things up. But it dropped your CME cash feeder cattle index over more than $5 when they dumped those cheap directs in there. And somebody ought to be inspecting those cattle. I can't believe they'd be #1 USDA #1 cattle that cheap. It's unbelievable, and nobody's checking on it. I'll guarantee you, because I know it, nobody's checking on them. Look at your big feeder cattle sales on Monday. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards, 1,300 head. Feeder steers, $15 to $19 higher. Wow. Feeder heifers, $13 higher in a light test, but this deal is coming way back, and I hope it helps a lot of people. Calves were not well tested, but they did say in spots $20 to $25 higher. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 1,800 head there. They sell mostly lighter weight cattle. They don't get as many this time of year of your feeder weight cattle, but a lot of those calves moving in southwest Missouri and in the four-state area. But steer calves, $15 to $25 higher. Heifer calves, $10 to $15 higher. Your feeders weighing over 700 pounds, not well tested, but sharply higher. Don't forget, they've got prime time livestock video auction, April the 16th. This thing is going to come back in droves between now and then. If you've had some cattle you've been holding and you want to sell them, on a video, get a hold of Colby Flatt or one of the video guys there with Primetime Video through Joplin Regional Stockyards, and get those cattle consigned, get them videoed, and have them on that big Primetime Video auction they're having April the 16th. Give you some individual quotes. How about Aberdeen livestock sales? Aberdeen, South Dakota, 88 head of 669 pound steers at 166. How about Callaway Livestock Center? My friends John P. and Jack Harrison there in Kingdom City, Missouri. They had a heck of a sale and didn't have that big of a run, but it's just very active. And I talked to several people after that sale, and they were just more confident and felt a whole lot better about things. But man, look at this load of heifers they sold at Callaway. 70 head of 765 pound heifers at $129.25, and that's for feed, guys. And then your big quotes out of Winter Livestock Auction, Winter, South Dakota. Look at these load lots here that you saw out of Winter on Monday. 2 loads of 960 pound steers at $129.50, and then a load of 854 pounders at $137.50. And that's a long way from those Texas Directs. They quoted 102 to 106. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.